Hello once again, Warhammer Fantasy fans. Warhammer with Sheeb here, bringing you a battle report. And this time, I am bringing 2,000 points of the new Wood Elves against Codex Dan's Orcs and Goblin army. So, before we start off, I'm pretty excited to play with my new Woodies. I've been waiting a long time for a new book, and really excited to see what options I can bring to the table. Now, what I want to bring and what I can field, based on what models I have painted and assembled, are completely different lists. However, I still really wanted to play with them. So, I took what I have, and I'm going to try to make it work. Here, we're going to start off with a look at how Codex Dan treats his minis and how he moves his army around. He's got a big plastic tote from IKEA, and look at the just gaggle of orcs, or whatever you call them, horde of orcs and goblins, just all thrown about in there carelessly. Compared to my neat and tidy wood elves, the size of the force is quite noticeably different, so you'll see how that goes in the battle report. We had a lot of fun. Dan also had a friend sit in on the game. We are teaching him Warhammer Fantasy, and we thought it, pretty cool that he would sit in and be the general for the Orcs and Goblins army. And Dan gave him pretty much autonomy of what he wanted to do with the army. However, he went to Dan for a lot of advice. So we're going to play it, and I'm going to talk to it as if Dan was playing. It's just easier that way. But Kevin was doing a lot of the rolls. And if we ever complained about Kevin's bad rolling, well, he has terrible rolling. We'll never take him to Vegas. Here's my level 4 spells. I got High Magic. So I'm rocking Hand of Glory, Tempest, Arcane Unforging, and Fiery Convocation. For the Orcs, he's got his two number 1 spells. He also took Hand of Gork, Foot of Gork, and he had like Brain Busta and another spell or something like that. The only ones that really come into play are Foot and Hand, of course. So my list consists of an Eagle. We have unit of 4 Treekin. I got 22 Glade Guard, and there is my level 4 on high, and a BSB. I have a Tree Man, and I am proxying, and I don't really like proxying, but when you don't have the Sisters of the Thorn and they haven't been released yet, I kind of had to. So I chose my Doomfire Warlocks because, hey, they're the equivalent of the Wood Elf Warlocks. We rolled up for meeting engagement, so we have the diagonal deployment, and I placed my guys pretty aggressive because this unit that started on the board has the Hagbane tipped arrows and not the True Flight arrows. If they were True Flight, I might have deployed my forest and these guys a bit further back. However, they were left in my box, as well as the Wild Riders who come on through ambush. But I lost a big unit not coming on the board, but his whole block of Savage Orcs failed to come on in his deployment phase, so I count myself lucky. Let's run through his side of the list. 20 Night Goblins, Mangler. There's 2 Trolls behind these 2 trees. 40 Night Goblins there, maybe 50. Another Mangler, 2 Doom Divers. Another single Troll, and Boar Chariot. So 2,000 points, not a whole lot on the table, but we're prepared to have a whole lot of fun. He has his general on a big boar with a giant spear. That's a 60-point item that gives him, I think, +3 attacks. And then he also has a level 4 Savage Orc Shaman, who is in this horde of Night Goblins. And he also has a small Shaman inside the unit already. He's a level 1 on the Little Wog. Alright, so I rock up first turn. Woo! The Tree King kind of move up out of the way so I can get some good shots at his army. The Eagle I'm going to send to die against that Mangler. In hindsight, I may have wanted to hold back with the Eagle just to see if my Glade Guard could take him out, but having one of my Glade Guard units not deploy on the board kind of hurt me. And his Manglers, he rolls ridiculously high for them. I know he always complains about my ridiculously long charges that I make, but his Manglers seem to always go and get the right number that he needs. And my Tree Man's going to move up a little to the left too. So my Sisters of the Thorn pop up, and I'm going to try to do some fast calf shenanigans and see if I can reform and go behind his lines. But Dan, being a pretty keen player, put them kind of really close to the corner. And as I drew close, just to throw some magic, maybe like Curse of Anarchy here or something on them, he releases Fanatics. And I forgot Dan always takes Fanatics. And yep, 8 inches. Fanatics come out. 1 goes through. 2 manage to go just shy. So they kind of look like this on the left flank. And I should have taken this as another hint that, he has 3 more Fanatics probably in that Night Goblin unit, or could be in the other one. but I really wasn't paying attention. So there, my eagle sacrifices into the mangler, which is, I think, a fair trade. 50 points for 65, not bad. My magic phase, I do Arcane Unforging on his general, and I remove his magic item, which is pretty sweet. I really wanted to get rid of the Savage Orc War Shaman with the Lucky Shrunken Head to get rid of their 5-up ward. However, he wasn't wearing armor, and I could not target him with Arcane Unforging. So, next best thing was the general. Probably should have swapped that spell out. I had the option to, but I actually just wanted to do it because I think it messes with the enemy's general's mind. Then I immediately tried Fiery Convocation, but he dispels that because he doesn't want that going off on his unit's first turn. Hand of Glory, this is just showing that I failed to get that off. But I do have my level 4 on high inside that group, and he does have 1 life counter because I did get 1 spell off. First turn in the remaining move subphase, my Tree Man and my Glade Guard both arrive and march up, move up 6 inches so that they can start shooting at stuff next turn. And I managed to put a couple wounds on his chariot. I believe that's 1 wound. And there's just a look at his Night Goblins. I shot, I think, a few at them, and I managed to kill 6 in the back rank there. So that was a look at the top of the first turn. We're going to go to Orcs and Goblins' turn. And yeah, just a quick look at the board, look at the terrain. We have some forests. This I declared as a normal forest. We really didn't investigate. This forest was a fungus forest, but didn't really come into play. The goblins that went in there were already immune. And all right, so onto his turn for charges. We have the chariot charging into my Glade Guard on the south, Troll charging into the big unit of Treekin, the Night Goblin Bus charging into the unit of Treekin, which I like to hold because that's what they're there for, to beat that anvil unit. Troll fails, but the Night Goblins make it in, and without that Troll, he was really counting on that Troll to pack the punch for this combat to sort of swing it that way. But now I was really happy when he didn't make it. The General and the Shaman decide not to charge out because they want to enter the Savage Orc block, which is coming on next turn hopefully for him, or this turn hopefully for him, and it does, and it arrives right there. So there's a look at some of the boards. The Fanatics dance around and kill themselves. A few roll double ones, and so they take themselves out of the game. Mangler rolls up this much. Trolls march up this much to kind of face down the Treeman and the Glade Guard. Again, my spidey sense of Warhammer is telling me I should probably back these Glade Guard up in my turn. However, I am super confident in Wood Elf shooting, overconfident, and I'm pretty sure that's going to give me some negative effects in this game. Alright, here's just a look at his general moving over and his Night Goblins moving up a little bit. Here's a look at some of his rolls for magic. He tries to cast Foot of Gork, and I will have none of that. And he tries to cast Hand of Gork, and I dispel that with my Dispel Scroll. I do not want any orcs going behind me in this game. That is the plan, but I burned my scroll early. In the shooting phase, he manages to throw a Doom Diver on my Treemen. Both scatter 10 inches in the exact same direction. Kevin rolled brilliantly. There's the second time that happened. So in the combat, you notice there's no Treekin, and the Treekin are over here, because this Night Goblin Horde actually won combat. Having only one Treekin in combat, based on this troll preventing the Night Goblin bust from maximizing, really played to his advantage. He sure only had 4 guys attacking, and I only had 1 of my Treekin, but I flubbed my attacks and failed like my stomp. I think I stomped like 1 guy. And he just had ranks, the charge, and beat me by 1. I fled. So that's that. I moved my Doomfire Warlock equivalents, the Sisters of the Thorn, to go up and see if I can throw some spears at this Mangler so I don't have to waste my Glade Guard shooting. And then Dan says, alright, but I have Fanatics, so go back 8 inches and I will release my Fanatics. And sure enough, 3 of them come out and destroy all the Sisters. Which is a shame, because I really wanted to get some spells off from them. I wanted to definitely cast Curse of Anra here. This could have been game-changing on some of these units, especially if I would have gotten off on some of these big combat blocks here, or even this Savage Orc block. It would have been really devastating. But now I have the Night Goblins in the combat with my Tree Man, and this is actually perfect. This is why I wanted my Tree Man into the combat. Being only strength 5 now, he's not going to pack enough punch to chew through a block of Savage Orcs. So Night Goblins, no problem. And with the Thunder Stomp, I could do all right. In my turn, the ambushing Glade Riders move on to the edge, and I'm about 6 inches away from that Doom Diver catapult right there. So they're going to shoot at them and hopefully charge next turn when I can. Fiery Convocation is attempted. High enough spells, but it was dispelled with his Dispel Scroll. So, burned his scroll. And let's just look at the board. We have some Fanatics over here, and actually did a pretty good job with the Sisters. Considering they're quite expensive and died fairly early on without being utilized to their fullest. I do have all the Fanatics out, and I have these Night Goblin who are terrified to go anywhere near them because they could come flying back through their ranks, cause panic, and have them run off the board. So, Tree Man in combat goes to town, stomps on a lot of them. Despite the charge and all that, the Tree Man manages to overrun the entire Night Goblin horde, which I think was fantastic. This little Night Goblin passed his panic test, and the trolls are stupid. And he managed to do an immense overrun of, I think, like just crazy inches, and managed to get out of their charge arcs. So that actually worked out pretty well for me. And then we have the other Tree Man who's trying to face down the chariot, just moving up to kind of attempt to, you want to charge the Tree Man, or you want to make a ridiculously long charge against the Glade Guard. Alright, there's a look at the turn, the board on the top of turn, I think, 2. Dan's declaring charges now. You see we have his chariot. He is going to make that ridiculously attempt the ridiculous long charge against my Glade Guard. And he's going to declare a few more charges like the troll into the other Glade Guard, which I stand and shoot, and I kill him. And the other troll charges, and I can't do much about it. So hopefully he fails. And the other troll charges, and there you see it. His chariot rolls double 6s and makes it into my Glade Guard after I stand and shoot. Managed to put another 2 wounds on him. He's on 1 wound left, which is just ridiculous. But I'm feeling pretty good. I got to always strike first. Sure, his impact hits are going to hurt, but I think I can weather that battle. This is just some measuring. He wants to measure for his magic missile to hit my ambushing Glade Riders. So he turns his shaman around like that. The Savage Orcs move up. The level 4 shaman joins that unit, and my Treekin might be caught out in the open here. And there's just a look at the left side of the board. Some Fanatics roll some more doubles and manage to get rid of a couple more. His general also joins that Savage Orc block, and there's a epic pose between the trees. His general with the giant spear on the boar. So he decides to reform for ranks because it's easier to not get hit by these Fanatics who are darting around. And if they were to ever get in combat, ranks would be nice. So I shoot some poison arrows at them, at the Doom Diver. He's got 1 wound left. Darn it. That's okay, I'll just charge him next turn. In his magic phase, I could not stop it. He cast Hand of Gork and moves his unit a ridiculous amount. I think it was like 23 inches, and they reform around that model. And here they are now on the flank of my Glade Guard. And the Glade Guard are already in a bad position. I have my Treekin who's now reformed and can possibly do a countercharge. I have 2 trolls in my Glade Guard with my level 4, my BSB, and 22 archers here. It's not looking good. I don't think they can handle a Savage Orc horde like that. And my true Treekin have no charge against any model. So this is... It'll take another turn for them to turn around. It's not looking good for the Wood Elves. Doom Diver manages to shoot at these ambushers, and this Doom Diver shot at somebody else. Killed 1. But that other Doom Diver, who I said shot at someone else, targeted the Treekin. Manages to go drift off, but then he corrects to go back, and it manages to tap both units. And so that they both take amazing amount of hits. He rolls really well. I think like 6 and a 5, so I lose a Treekin and a few Glade Guard. This is impact hits. This is his combat after my combat, and I am not able to put a single wound past his armor save. Toughness 3 elves, they just don't do it. And so he wins combat, runs off the board, and there goes the Glade Guard. Those Glade Guard had the True Flight arrows. So, man, that double 6 ridiculously long charge, it was a risk. And I took it, and I think I made the right call, but just didn't work out the right way. I managed to put a wound on this troll. First round of combat sees no wounds on that troll. And there's just a better overview of how close and how impending doom this is. And it's going to be a charge from down the hill too, which is not going to be good. But it's my turn, so he has to wait another turn. My Glade Riders charge into the Doom Diver, and they're going to take it out. My Treekin charge into the flank of this troll, because they can. And for spells, in my magic phase, I attempt to cast Hand of Glory. I get it off. Only boosts all of their stats by 1, which was a shame because I was hoping for a nice weapon skill of D3 plus to keep me a little bit more survivable, but that's not to be. There's the ambushers overrunning. And here's a look after combat. I put 1 wound on this troll, 2 wounds on this troll, and it's not enough, even with the Treekin. If only they were strength 5 still. If only. F you, Matt Ward. Alright, so my tree men turn around. No, actually, I can't complain. The Wood Elf book's pretty cool. You had to make some compromises and sacrifices. If they stayed strength 5, it probably wouldn't have balanced out the rest of the army, because the rest of the army has some pretty cool things. And honestly, it's not that bad. I take that back. Matt Ward, you're okay in my books. But don't let anyone on the internet find out I said that. So here we go. I actually failed to cast another spell, so my caster couldn't cast anymore, which is a shame, and that ended my magic phase. So my tree man march up here. If they're going to charge me, potentially I could stay and not break. I want easy charge from both of these tree men, and he moves his chariot up like that. Night goblins enter the forest, and they try to position themselves to block my tree man. The fanatic, I think, goes and rolls another double, so he goes off the table. I decide to charge at that Doom Diver when I can. He manages to take and march these goblins over here, like so. Actually, I think he may have even cast Hand of Glory to do that. Or not Hand of Glory, sorry. Hand of Gork to do that, because it looks like they went pretty far. He may have marched them, though. He put him on an angle because he doesn't want my tree man, if he does overrun, to go anywhere near this combat. And as you can see, we are engaged in combat right now, and it's not looking good. Doom Diver puts a wound on him. So, if I'm going to be facing combat against a horde of savage orcs, I'm going to send out my captain as a sacrifice against his general, and keep my BSB and my level 4 alive one more round, hopefully. He makes short work of that captain. Troll goes down, and 1 wound remaining on this troll. I've now learned a valuable lesson. If you're going to take a character, and he could potentially be in combat, find, or at least have a plan for him to be killy. Even just a little bit. None of my characters, none of these Glade Guard were killy at all. They were all strength 3, and they were all having the hardest time to wound. They would all hit them. All their attacks would hit the orcs. With my rerolls being in the forest, it was amazing. But to wound, I needed 6s, and I couldn't roll enough of them, and he had his regen. So, that was unfortunate. I lose combat, I flee, he doesn't run me down, he rolls ridiculously low, and I managed to get away. Tree can also flee this way, and managed to get away. I am considering myself lucky. And this was all done on his turn. So on my turn, you bet, I charge in with my tree man against some more night goblins. This one's already had a feeding frenzy on a horde of them. These guys should be no problem for that tree man. And I make a ridiculously long charge. I think I needed a 10 or 11 to make it into the rear of these savage orcs because of their overrun. Taking them a few more inches closer to that table edge. Made it ridiculously long, but I did. And I did make it, and he has 1 wound on him. In my turn, they also charged the other Doom Diver. And my character, Bunker, rallies, and the tree can rally, and I debated for a while to turn and face them to try and swing this combat, or to potentially go get some more points, and hopefully I can survive with these guys just long enough to deny them all this points here. and because I don't think I'm going to kill this horde. And if I can kill all these other smaller chaff units that get in the way, we might have a decent enough chance of tying, since I've taken out a lot of his other things, manglers and his war machines. So in my magic phase, I attempt to cast Tempest to on top of that troll there. Since I can't cast it into combat, I'm hoping it drifts off maybe this way. That'd be good. It gets dispelled though. I roll pretty poorly. And I take out the last war machine, so that's pretty good. And I really like how this this goblin shaman has now claimed the hill for himself. He becomes quite important as he's trying every turn to magic missile these Glade Riders, and they're slowly losing numbers. There's only 3 left there. And there they are. Here's a look at some of the combats. Let's look at some of the results. Oh yeah, Tree Man goes to town. Thunder Stomps, and even with Strength 5 against these squishy Night Goblins, not a problem. However, in this combat, this is quite interesting, and I know we played this wrong. His general makes way. I'm only in combat with 4 of these orcs in the back, but his general makes way, and my Tree Man actually gets a wound through on him, and none of the Savage Orcs put a wound on him, nor does his general, who is actually pretty killy despite his magic weapon being taken away from him. So, I actually win combat. Barely. I think I failed it by 1. But I did manage to put a wound on his general, and because he made way, it should have been that general stays in base contact with him, with the Tree Man. He can't remove him from combat. However, we didn't really want to look up the rules, and it was getting late, and I was like, whatever, you can not send him into combat next time since he only has 1 wound left. I was feeling quite generous, but I'm pretty sure we played that wrong. Anyways, I'm stubborn, I make my roll, he reforms, and now he faces me, so now he can get a whole lot more attacks. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was my only chance I really had at victory. Once I knew that Tree Man went in there and was on the flank, had he not made way, I probably would have killed more Savage Orcs, potentially could have won, and had he lost a few more guys and failed his reroll with his BSB, and there was a lot of stars that needed to align, but that was my greatest chance of stealing this game for a victory. Alright, remember I said earlier this chariot makes ridiculously long charges? A double 6 against the Glade Guard earlier. It makes another double 6 charge against the Tree Man and crashes into his back. Now he's putting the nail in the coffin. He's sealing my Wood Elf fate. There's the little shaman up there shooting at my Glade Riders who run away. And I think he managed to kill them all. So lucky him, gets some more points. The troll charges in. I can't stand and shoot. He's too close. But he's only got 1 wound left. Let's try again. Maybe I can kill this troll. Maybe. Let's just look at the board. Treekin, I decide, I'm going to charge the Night Goblins. He elects to flee, and I catch him. I roll ridiculously high, like a 10 or 11, and I catch him, and he only rolls like a 3. So now my Treekin are up there. So combats are going in my favor. Not the ones I really want, though, as you'll see here in a moment. So probably I should have turned him around to potentially get a rear or a flank charge from these Treekin on this horde to give me better odds. In hindsight, it probably wouldn't have mattered, so I'm okay with them charging those Night Goblins. Let's look over here. The Tree Man is locked in combat with these Night Goblins. Because the General is here and the BSB is quite close by, those Goblins are using his leadership and they're sticking around longer than they ought to. So, there is his roll for his Night Goblins. Even after I kill, 7, and he only has 3 left, he makes a pretty insane leadership test and sticks around. There's my troll, the bane of my Wood Elf army. And he's killing. There's my BSB, my level 4, and my other Center Bear for the Glade Guard. This shaman leaves his hill and comes close to the Tree Man, potentially to do a rear charge or to cast a magic missile, if and when he wins combat. This Tree Man dies to the horde. Was to be expected. Impact hits really hurt him. I think they may have even killed him before he got to attack, since these guys are initiative 3, and the impact hits were quite hard hitting, even for a Tree Man. There's a look at the board. On his turn, he continues to have 1 wound left on this troll, but take out all my characters. And then I could not believe it. I could not kill 3 Night Goblins. I flubbed some of my attacks, rolled the 1 for my Thunderstop, and rolled a 1 to wound. He has 1 Night Goblin left, and guess what? He happened to be insanely courageous. So there's a look up at the troll against my characters. I think he kills them all this turn. Oh, nope, not all, because I get Fiery Convocation off on my turn. And I managed to kill a boatload of Savage Orcs. This is making me feel a little bit better, considering I only have, I think, my BSB and my level 4 in combat, which they're going to die this turn. Yeah. Actually, my level 4 died by miscasting, and I wanted to miscast. I rolled 6 dice Fiery Convocation to hope I got a template just to kill this troll, just to, stick it in Dan's face. But that wasn't the case. I just took a strength 10 hit and failed and died. I did manage to kill the last Night Goblin, which got me some satisfaction. But before I kill him, he puts a wound on me. A little bugger. So that was hilarious. There's the troll killing that combat. And the Savage Orcs are facing the wrong way, so they reform. Chariot moves up here. General just sort of marches out just because he can. And they sort of encircle my last tree man, which is really my last hope. It's turn 6. My treekin are alive up here, but they're too far away to do anything. So in his turn, he marches his Goblin Shaman up. At 6 dice is his magic missile. Miscasts, hoping for a template to kill him, and he doesn't. He only rolls... Oh, I forget what he rolled. Oh, he rolled an 11. So whatever this one is here, Power Drain. And Fiery Convocation kills a few more orcs because they moved. And that's pretty much the end of the game. You can see we had a lot of dice because we were chucking a lot of spells and throwing a lot of arrows around. Overall, I really like the new Wood Elf book. It is completely different. It's not filled with filth like a lot of other new army books. However, there are some pretty good gems in there. I've been toying with some lists while at work in Quartermaster. And I think I have my 2,400 point list down pretty much, and which is I'm pretty happy with. Although I still need to play test it. Which kind of I really wanted to pick up some Eternal Guard and some Wildwood Rangers. However, at 2,400 points, I don't think I have a place for them in the army. So I might pick them up, but it looks like Sisters of the Thorn and Wild Riders are going to be the new units that I'm going to be picking up, as well as converting some Glade Guard into Way Watchers, because Way Watchers were good last edition. Now, they're great. With the new Way Watcher hero in with that unit, it just makes them really great, and I really want to play a shooty army. So hopefully I get more of that. It's going to be I'm sad to see my Tree Man go. I have 3 of them, and 9 Treekin go, as well as my 24 Dryads. They just don't have a place in this army anymore, and I'm kind of sad to see them go because they are all painted up, and I spent so much time converting and actually building from scratch these Treemen and Treekin. But there you have it. There's the battle report. Dan and Kevin, you lucky guys. You bested the Wood Elves this time, but next time you won't be so lucky. Thanks for watching.